Okay.
Okay, we're live.
All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the week 11 cast assessment for Big Brother Pasio. So this week, Renee won HOH. She nominated Kaylee and Owen. Kaylee won the veto, saved herself, and then Yusuf went up. Yusuf got evicted 4-0, and um, the ticket was not drawn. So now we're at final six. Next week, there's a 50-50 shot of the ticket getting drawn or it not getting drawn and being like tossed. Um, so like this week, what did you guys think of Renee's HOH? Like how it went?
Um,
Um,
I honestly think that she did it really well. I think she nominated like the people who were probably gonna go after her, and I don't know. I think how she handled it was like pretty, like fine. I don't think she needed to win the HOH, but I do think like since she did win, like she did like a good job. And getting out Yusuf is a pretty big accomplishment. So I think
mm,
that like it just adds points to her resume if she ever does make it to the end.
yeah, I think her
Yeah,
biggest strength this week was how adaptable she was. Like, she made her noms. Kaylee on veto, she readjusted. She spoke to Yusuf, she readjusted. Like, she was super flexible, which she needed to be.
Yeah.
yeah,
I honestly think that getting Yusuf out was really, really good for Renee's game. I think it was risky. Like, it has such Renee energy. Like, it was a very risky move because there was a 33% chance that he would just come back and, like, scalp her. But I think in the end, it was a really smart thing to do because Yusuf is so good at comps. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
I think, and he had no intention of working with Renee, Lucas, and Kat. So basically, what happened before eviction was Yusuf kept scrambling to stay to get Kat and Lucas to vote together to keep him, and then if a tie and Renee would break the tie for him to stay. That was like his plan. But he was promising them safety that he wouldn't go after them and that he would go after Kaylee, Owen, and Arya. And then in his DR at the same time, he was like, I have no plans to be loyal to this. And it's
mhm,
like, yeah, like they're not stupid. Like they figured that out. I will say though that I respect Yusuf's hustle to not give up. So that was really refreshing. And I do think that Yusuf played a pretty good game. It's just
mm,
like he got, like sometimes that just
Mm-hmm.
happens.
I think
So
I honestly think he just got unlucky because I think he was safe under like everyone else's HOH.
yeah.
So
mm,
I don't know. I think honestly, if Yosef didn't get out now, I think he probably would have gotten like third or fourth. So
mhm,
I think it was a really good move on like Rennie's part for sure.
Yeah.
yeah. With Renee and Kat especially, like they just like the people they took out are people who would have made it to the end if they weren't taken out by them. Like Monty would still be in the game if Kat and Renee didn't backdoor him. Yusuf would still
mhm,
be in the game if Kat and Renee didn't win HOH.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they take out the people that we don't expect.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. And that, like, so I feel like the week after he did the Emily backdoor, like, he got really lucky with Johnny winning HOH because he cut a deal with him. So I think
mhm,
sometimes, like, luck comes back around and you get the other end of the stick. Like, that's kind of what happened with Renee. And I think it was kind of interesting that they all fucked up on the HOH. I think for some of them, it was a genuine mistake because they wanted it. But, like, every single person messed up. So I think it kind of shows that like no one really really wanted HOH. And like this week, I think people are going to want it, but it's like with the ticket it's so tricky. Like how do you
mhm,
navigate like getting people out? Like I don't know what I would do if I was in a game and there was a 50% chance that whoever I got out wouldn't stay out. So I think
mhm,
like the ticket even if it's not drawn eventually like has had an impact on the game as a twist. Like it wasn't just like some idle thing in the background.
mhm. I agree.
Um But this week was kind of interesting because Yusuf and Kaylee and Owen really, really split. Like,
Mhm,
I knew that that was probably going to happen after, I think it was after the live night, or even before the live night when they were like, when like Kaylee and Owen wouldn't really try for HOH and be like, oh, we're really safe this week. And then they both got nominated, like all three of them.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that was kind of an interesting dynamic. I didn't really expect that too much.
Well, it's just like it's been boiling throughout this whole entire game. Like Kaylee never really thought of Yusuf as like her equal. She always thought of herself as above him. And like that's why like on calls and stuff, Kaylee would always be pretty harsh towards Yusuf, but be like kind of like nicer to Kate and Owen. Like Kaylee treated Yusuf like her dog, pretty much.
Yeah. And then when he was no longer good for her, like when he did like one shady thing to her, she just like euthanized him. Like real quick. That's the best like comparison. Like she literally was like, fuck this little rat man. And it's like he's done so much for you, Kaylee. And I think Yusuf even said this on the jury call. Like Kaylee would not still be here if Yusuf hadn't vetoed her, if he hadn't won HOHs. Like what HOH has Kaylee won to keep her allies safe? Like I'm still looking.
Yeah. It's I don't know. With Kaylee and Owen's game, it feels so much like circumstance, but it's always the same. Like it's always like luck and circumstance that like it feels like skill at some point.
I think they
You know?
kind of fell into like they're lucky that everyone's strategy so far that's not on their side has been to put Kaylee and Owen up, get veto used, and then backdoor someone who's more threatening. And that's been like the strategy. I was making like a chart for this game, and it was literally done like 4 times, including this week, where two people like Kaylee and Owen went up. One of them gets vetoed or vetoes themselves, and then someone else goes up and goes home. And it's like, at what point is that like I don't I don't know. Like I think there's something about being resilient and surviving the block that's appealing, especially as a juror. But like at what point is that you just being a puppet in someone else's game, like a chess piece, and less of like you moving yourself forward? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I literally said that in a previous cast assessment that I was like, why do Kaylee and Owen have such good jury management even though they're the consistent pawns when like people like Raya and Duncan in like previous seasons like were just like, oh, they're the goat. Like what
Yeah.
like
I
accomplishment did they
think
make by surviving the block, you know?
for me, it's like I respect the rise from pawn to like endgame threat, but you have to break out of that cycle for it to be something impressive. Like
Mhm.
for example, like if it was like Kaylee was like a pawn, Kaylee or Owen, they've been like nominated 3 times or whatever, and then Kaylee wins HOH, gets someone out, then Owen wins HOH. Like you can't be the pawn forever, and then it's like underdogs only carries you
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so much.
And
Yeah,
I was
for
thinking
sure.
about this with Kat in particular. Like she
Mhm.
was nominated every even week for 3 weeks in a row. Like she just could not catch a break. And then she hasn't touched the block since. And she's won comps. And it's like,
Yeah.
why? Like that's what you need to do when you're a pawn. Like sometimes you're a perma pawn for a little bit, but you have to dig yourself out of that. And it feels like Kaylee in particular, like the whole game, that's just been her role. And she
Mm-hmm.
never, and like some of that was like given to her, but like there's stuff you can do with that, like deals
Mm-hmm.
you can cut, like moves you can make. Like I just don't know what her move is.
Yeah, I think I genuinely just think that the jury is very, very biased towards her. I think that if it got to a point where she had to do a jury Q&A and somebody asked, what was your biggest move? She wouldn't have an answer. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be really interesting if she does make it to the end, just because of like, she's like a big jury threat just because she's likable and has friends on the jury, not because she's playing like
Yeah.
an amazing game.
And I think too, it's kind of like there's something about Kaylee that's just super like I don't know, like you want to root for her because it's Kaylee. Like I
Mm-hmm.
totally been in that position. Julia, you've been in that position with Jodo, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like you just like it's so this is so close to what she did in Jodo, where it was like all she did was just survive.
Mm-hmm.
Like
For sure.
her
Mm.
story at the end of the game wasn't that she made a move or did anything. It was like I got here. Like
Yeah.
that's period. Which I think is respectable depending on who you're up against.
Yeah, for
But
sure. Like, and I think it's she ran into the same problem in Joda where like the only reason she won is because I was on the jury and I was like campaigning for her.
yeah,
And the same with Jules. Is like Jules is on the jury campaigning for her. And so
yeah.
I just think that I don't want to say it's luck in these 2 seasons that she's a really big jury threat, but like I don't know. I think it's definitely like her allies on jury are the reason why she like becomes such a big jury threat because I don't really like I feel like everyone in the game has done more than her, except for maybe Lucas.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. And I think too, like Kaylee being a winner, like and returning as a winner could have impacted that. Like I don't want to just like shit on Kaylee for like 20 minutes, but like I do think that some of like the good clout that she's getting is kind of just because her allies are on the jury. Um, and maybe as time goes on and more things happen and more people go to jury, that could change. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just frustrating because the kind of underdog rise from being nominated applies to a lot of the final six. Basically, everyone except for Arya and the other one, Lucas. Like Owen, Kaylee, not you. Sorry, Owen. No, problem. I'm being stupid. Kaylee, Owen, Renee, Kat. It applies to all of them, but there's kind of a double standard with the jury where it's impressive for half of them and not for the other, and that's what's frustrating. So you're going to back the underdog game, back it for all the underdogs, not for the ones you were close to.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, oh my God, yes. Wow. Yeah. It's like they're like, oh, Renee, like I hate it when people don't have a social game. Renee had no social game. And then it's like Kaylee and Owen went up a bunch because they didn't talk to people. And then they're like, oh well, Kaylee and Owen, it's different because like they were rumored to be in a group and blah 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 blah. And it's like apply it fairly. Like I totally
Yeah.
agree. I think that's a valid
Yeah,
statement for
for
sure.
sure.
I think it's mostly because there's just no one like big enough of a threat. It's like Renee and Kat, they've won competitions, but it's like they've been such a low presence within the game. They're not on like the same level as, let's say, like Jules, Emily, or like Johnny's reputation. That like they're more dismissible, and it's like easier for people to root for their friends because they're not that
Yeah.
impressed by like Kat and Renee
Yeah.
and Lucas.
I also do think that um because there's no one super super hateable left in the game, it's like when you're on jury you want to root against someone, like you want to root for a friend or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but you also want to find someone to root against. And since there's no one left to like, because people this whole season have been kind of cherry picking reasons to like hate on people, and so it's like I feel like now there's literally no valid reason, so they're just like picking Kat, Renee, and Lucas and like running with it just because that's kind of how these games run, so I don't blame them. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think the Q&A, depending on who's against each other, like, is going to be very revealing because there are a
Yeah.
lot of things that the jury has wrong. Like they think that Arya misted Kat into backdooring Monty when it was Renee, and Arya wanted Johnny.
I think it's like you used to say about the Hey Gamers Alliance, where they would be like, they'd pick their person to be mad at and target that energy. It's just now that they're on jury, they're doing that as jurors. And what was I going to say? Let's go. Yeah, it's because there's such negative energy this season around early jury that everyone was so riled up and so mad that now they're all just, like sitting on this energy, like fermenting, being like, "Ooh, I hated so many people. Now they're either gone or on jury. I have to be so mean to someone else," and they've just picked people for no reason.
I hate to say this, but like, are they the common denominator? You know, like,
Hmm.
are they like maybe they're just so used to it that like like maybe that's what they expect from the season. They expect like to hate against someone, or like do they just hate people this whole season, and so they're used to it, and so they just want to hate people just to hate people. You know,
Mm.
something to think about.
Yeah, yeah. I also kind of agree with that because the tone of this game did change a lot, like based upon who was in it. Like there was a time where like it was just so like the game was made so personal because of things that happened, and it was just like such a daunting thing for everyone involved. And now it's like all the discourse and everything happening within the game and like for the most part on jury, like it is game related. It is about moves, it is about strategy, it is about votes, renominations. And like that's really refreshing for this season because for so many weeks of pre-jury it was like, well, this person's morally bad, or this person's this, or this person's that. So I don't know. I feel like we talked about Kaylee a lot. What about Arya? I feel like Arya is just like she's
Oh.
just a leagues above everyone else. Like she hasn't had to win a comp this entire game. Like she's now the last person nominated. Like And I think the jury has her right for the most part to think that she is misting everyone. Everyone's woke to her, but not going after her. So I think
Yeah.
should she make it to the end, she'll win. But
I
it's gonna be hard for her because she's not good
Yeah.
at comps.
Yeah, I really hope that she can pull through and like win competitions and get herself there because that would be like that's like an amazing like storyline. But like
Hmm.
it's getting to a point where you know that somebody's just gonna like put her up and then she's gonna be evicted unanimously just because she's way too
Hmm.
good. And so I'm kind of sad that I like that's it. Just basically you're just waiting for it to happen at this point since she can't really win a
Hmm.
competition. So I don't know. I'm hoping that like now that it's final six and she can play in like every single veto, that like she has a chance to save herself, to prove herself that she can win comps as well. Because then I feel like that's like the nail in the coffin for like her winning the game.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think in a way her making it to the end is in itself an underdog kind of
Mm-hmm.
arc. Like people were onto her game since the week Anthony left. That was so early on. They were like, "Ooh, Arya put in work to keep Anthony." Like her wriggling her way here and misting people. Now that's the underdog wriggling her way back in arc that the jury is putting on everyone else. Like she did that to get here, and even though I think she is going to get robbed, like sixth to fourth somewhere in that range, she's done amazing, and she should be so proud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to really count Arya out because every time we do that, she bounces back and like just
Mhm.
ruins our
Yeah.
expectations. So I'm waiting. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. What was kind of funny is that Yusuf was saying on the jury call that Kat and Renee were like floored when they found out that Arya was close to Kaylee and Owen because they thought that Arya was their third number and like only loyal to them and not loyal at all to Kaylee and Owen. So when Yusuf told them that like Arya's been calling them and like being active in their chat, like they were floored apparently. So I think that just speaks to like how good Arya is at like being able to like make herself appealing to all groups and at the same time like people think that she's just a free number for them.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and it's like now it's in a position where it's kind of like Kat, Renee, Lucas versus like Owen and Kaylee. Like I think Arya could really slip by. She really could
Yeah.
they're because like they have to go after each other at this point. They're not taking each other to the like, you know.
Yeah. I think too it's like I don't even know what like a good move for Kat and Renee is besides to like take each other to the end. Like I feel like or Lucas, I guess. But like
Mhm.
if they don't get out Arya, Kaylee, and Owen the next three boots, or I guess four, but like if they don't get them out, like they're going to lose the game. For them, it's not about getting to the end. Which is why I think I said this last time that the bar for Kaylee and Owen is so low. It's
Mm-hmm.
make it to the end. Like that's it. And then the bar for like Kat, Renee, Lucas is like they have to have the right combination of people. They have to prove themselves. They have to do all these different things. And so I think that it kind of reinforces what we're saying about like how the jury kind of is a little bit biased right now because there are two different standards.
Yeah. It just mostly, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like let's say it's like a Renee Owen or like a Kaylee Kat type of situation. It's like Renee and Kat they're going to have to do very, very well in the jury Q&A, and at the same time, Owen and Kaylee would have to literally eat shit in order for Kat and Renee to like envision themselves winning if they're not together in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I do think though that Kat like Renee, not Kat, Renee did make like a really good move this week and I think
Mhm.
it as time goes on, like if she does, let's say, make it to the end, like this is a very good, strong resume point for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was risky, you know? Like there was a 1 in 3 chance that he would just stay in the game. And at one point he was like, "Do you guys want me out?" Like they couldn't use like, "Oh, I want you to stay, but the votes aren't there," because Yusuf's hustle was so strong. He was like, "You guys are all saying the same thing. Like, do you want me in the game or not?" And they said no. Like at one point, Kat was like, "I evicted you. Like it's done." And so I think that that was a bold move on their part, you know. And I think they would have regretted it had they kept Yusuf in. And I just think they would have really regretted it this week. So I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, I definitely think they made the right choice since the ticket wasn't used. But if the ticket was used, I feel like 100%. I feel like it would have been the wrong
Yeah.
one because I
Yeah.
don't know. If I was in their position, I feel like the odds were just so high that it was gonna get used that I would have just kept him and like tried to make a deal or like tried to do something just to like I don't know, try to keep myself safe. And I feel like it's gonna be interesting watching like this upcoming week of like
Yeah.
because it's literally what like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, it's a
Mm.
50-50 chance.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would definitely not want to win HOH.
Yeah. I think that that's what's cool about like I do think that what is interesting about Kat and Renee's game is that like they have like been handing off HOHs and like they've been outwardly playing like I think for Kat and Renee it's like they've been playing such a like offensive game, like nominating people, getting blood on their hands that like that's why they're kind of screwed at the end. Whereas like
Hmm.
Kaylee and Owen, it was just a purely defensive game. Like they only defended themselves when they were on the block or whatever. Like they never like so many times they were like, I'm not gonna campaign against the person against me. And it's like, what?
Hmm.
Yeah, very that.
Yeah. But I also do think that of the six people left, like there's no one who's like super, super inactive, like sucks completely. Like there's always I feel like there's always like one person who's like really, really, really just terrible who's left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think this season, like we're lucky that there isn't that.
Hmm. Well, at the beginning of the season, I said like the winner of this game would be like someone who like went through a bunch of shit, and I feel like this whole entire final six, they've been through some shit.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like,
So like, yeah,
yeah, just thinking about all these people, like Renee, Sydney was the only person she knew really well coming into this game. She got evicted week one. Kat only knew Chloe and Anthony. Chloe got expelled. Anthony flopped. Like
Oh,
all these people, like Owen and Kaylee getting nominated a bunch of times. Lucas losing Emily and all the Avengers. Like I think, and Arya too losing her people. It's like everyone
just
has
knowing
like
Katie.
Hmm.
yeah. So I think it's kind of cool.
oh, that's so cool. This whole entire final six, you can like connect them to every person that's played this game so far, except Nathan, really. But like, that's cool in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I also want to know what kind of role like Emily's going to play on the jury because she keeps being like, I like Kat. Like she sent
Hmm.
that like emotional video to Kat because they got like they grew really close, and I think like that needs to be said because like Kat did have bonds with people. And I think that's the other thing that Kat did wrong is like she got so close to people that like they felt really betrayed when she had to vote them out. Like Monty, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah. If you guys had to like who do you guys think is going to win out of the six? Like if you had to pick.
Hmm.
I really, it's just so, I don't know, it's so situational.
Yeah.
It's so, who
I
would win?
hmm. I
Who we say?
think Lucas is gonna win somehow.
Ooh.
Um,
Mhm.
I think Renee's gonna win.
I see that. That was the two I was between.
I could see I won't pick the same one because that's boring. But I think if I had to pick, I think Kaylee could win.
I
Just because
think,
she did it in Johto.
yeah, true. I think Arya could win because like I said, she just has that unexpected factor. Like once we don't consider her, she like makes us consider her. So I'm
Mhm.
very,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I think people really, really, really underestimate her.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
For sure.
I think
It's
it's
weird.
like
They
we,
overestimate her and
I'm sorry.
underestimate her simultaneously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like really Yusuf was the only person in the game that's like, oh, Arya's gonna win, yada yada yada. And it's like us as hosts, like we see that like Arya is gonna win because we also see the jury. The house guests don't see the jury, so maybe they're not really like considering the fact.
Well, I could see how Renee or Kat or Lucas could think that Arya's not going to win. Because they didn't really know the connection that Arya made with all the other people in the house. They only know, like, they think that they have her, like, kind of as like a vote in their pocket, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good for Arya.
Yeah,
Queen of
good
Hustle.
for Arya, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, guess that's about it. We'll see what happens if there's a ticket or no ticket.
Ooh, there's no ticket. That'd be ooh. All this
Hmm.
paranoia for what?
Well,
Well,
guess that's about it.
Adios.
goodbye.
Adios.